Today we will talk on safety in construction. Let us examine the role of engineers on safety issues. We know that labor welfare officers are there in industries, including safety officers. Environmentalists are there to protect the environment, who look after the environmental safety. Police is there who comes after road accidents and any collapse of the building. And then what is the role of engineers? And engineers are concerned for what? Let us first examine the causes of accidents. Accidents may be there due to unsafe conditions, unsafe act or disasters. Unsafe conditions, when we talk, then it is the engineers who have to provide safe conditions at all places, maybe civil infrastructure, industries, nuclear and so on. It means the role of engineers is very important in providing safe conditions. And then when we talk about the unsafe act, then though it is attributed to individuals, at workplace engineers are their supervisory officers and therefore it is their responsibility too. And then disasters, when we talk, then even to construct disaster resistant structures, it is the responsibility of the engineers. Therefore, when you see that during unsafe conditions, unsafe act or even disasters, engineers' role is really very important. So, engineers have the responsibility of developing safe infrastructure which should avoid the accidents, whether industry, environment, roads or buildings. Engineers have larger responsibility for implementing safe act for the workers. Engineering, we know, provide built-in safety measures in infrastructure to avoid accident and safety during disasters through better planning and designing. Engineers can effectively thus enforce safety to a large extent. We know the principle of engineering is safe, economic and durable structures. When we talk safe, it means it includes safety for workers, users and public from structures, working conditions, environment and health. When we talk about the economy, it means better design, planning and supervision. And when we talk about durability, it means quality also. Therefore, if we see, then this engineering includes basically safety, environmental safety, environment, quality and economy. Therefore, safety, quality, environment and health, these are interwoven and they are related to engineering and thus to the engineers. When we talk about safety cost to work, then let me tell you first thing that ultimately every cost is charged to a work in civil engineering construction and thus safety cost also gets included in the cost of work. And cost may be direct cost and indirect cost both. Direct cost means medical care, compensation, loss of property or equipment, replacement cost of equipment and assets and legal cost, etc. While indirect cost includes loss of production, cost of time spent in inquiries, investigations, etc., loss of slowdown of the work, band, strike and so on, cost of time lost in replacement, loss of reputation to the client and clients itself. And then let us see then that the engineers are there who work for prevention or mitigation of accidents. It means engineers' work is prior to environmentalist or police or industrial safety officers, etc. It means engineers are responsible for prevention or mitigation and they can only prevent or mitigate the accidents. If we see the relation between accident cost and prevention cost, then accident cost is high when prevention cost is low, and benefits are more when a little bit cost of prevention is high. prevention is on x-axis. We might have come across bird triangle theory, where it says that for one serious accident there are 10 minor injuries, 30 accidents leading to property damage, and 600 near misses. But I think this is basically for industrial safety and not for civil engineering construction. Remember, in civil engineering works there are maybe no misses, no property damage due to misses, no minor injuries, but only serious accidents like during fall from heights, if there is a failure of the scaffolding, shuttering, or large casualties, if building gets collapsed or buildings collapse due to structural failure or electrocution, or road accidents due to incorrect road design at curves. Therefore, this misses what we call and large accident. It's not there in civil engineering. Civil engineering means, really speaking, that there are accidents and fatal accidents due to failure of the structures or civil engineering structures, maybe temporary or permanent. The civil engineers have the larger responsibility of safety. But unfortunately, what is happening is that in civil engineering, what is called SWAMP norm and world class, then we have hardly any world class safety, maybe less than even 7% in our country. While most of them are reluctant compliers, and even there is safety without any management process. This what we call it norm, where reluctant compliers are many, and they are to be brought in world class category, and then only we can implement the safety standard, safety norms. And implementation procedure is known that it can be through 3, 4, or 5 E's, and this is education, engineering, enlistment, enforcement, and encouragement. And if we talk about the Prevention of Unsafe Act, it means through education and training to workers. It may be through orientation training, display of posters, signages, safety task assignment, awareness, monitoring, feedback, review, site visits of those sites, particularly where safety measures have been implemented to a great extent or very nicely implemented. If we talk about the prevention of unsafe conditions, then through engineering particularly, then it is through planning and designing, and then execution, supervision, and monitoring, in which inspection, checklist, implementation, HR management, including appointment of safety officers, is involved. Enlistment is very important. That is positive attitude of stakeholders, particularly contractors, engineers, and management, including workers, towards safety program and its purpose. And it needs to be enforced, as it is missing in most of the cases, particularly in civil engineering. Enforcement and encouragement, safety policy and management programs are to be there, and they are to be enforced. We need positive attitude, strong will, and determination by all involved in the construction works. Promotional measures may be through rewards, safety competition, disciplinary action or punishments, carrying out accidents, incident investigations for ascertaining corrective and preventive actions or measures. In civil engineering construction, we in fact have technical engineering safety during construction, during planning and construction, and then we have process safety during execution, and then occupational safety when the buildings are occupied. If you talk about the process safety, then we need safe technology, adequate facilities, and trained personnel, and that is the key of success. And this focuses on the process safety in engineering. Civil engineering focuses on these issues. If we talk about the technical or engineering safety, it means safety in planning and design, safety during execution, safety during maintenance, that is during life cycle of the structure, and safety even during demolition of the structure. If we talk safety aspects in construction, that we need to observe structural safety, worker safety, fire safety, electrical safety, equipment safety, environmental safety, and public safety at large. And let us see how to achieve structural safety. This may be through planning and designing as per codes and guidelines. We know there are a large number of structures in the country where the civil structures are not even designed or poorly designed, though codes and guidelines are available. Therefore, this is to be ascertained that they are planned and designed as per codes and guidelines. We follow quality assurance during implementation and follow regulations, and structural provisions may also be kept in the contract so that their drawings are really checked by the competent designers, and we should have better supervision. Structural failure may be due to unsafe design or not following the correct design. There are cases when designs or drawings are revised but old ones are kept at the site and followed. And there may be collapse of shutterings, that is temporary structures, scaffolding, etc. Maybe incorrect sequence of removal of props, like removal of props from fixed site in a cantilever. Maybe removal of centering, shuttering before specified stripping period. Then maybe that we mix different types of grades of materials like cement, say if we are mixing OPC and PPC, or mixing steel of different grades. And then poor quality of work is another really disturbing for structural failure. Then there may be sudden change of conditions like rains or immersion of concrete structures. Then maybe poor detailing, like no overlap of the reinforcement, or maybe no weep holes in retaining wall causing the failure. And if we talk during maintenance period, then sometimes load-bearing structural members are removed, additional alterations are carried out without designs, and we change the conditions like metro, suppose underground metro construction is going on, that may create distress to adjoining structures. Natural disasters may be the another regions, and aging of structures, particularly when maintenance is not done properly or poor maintenance is done. And then changed use may also be there during life cycle of the structure, like we put up, say, library or cinema hall or heavy loading on the slab which has not been designed for that, and maybe poor drainage conditions. If we talk about the environment safety, then we must cover the materials on site and debris transported. Whenever it is transported, we should wash the tires of the vehicles and then use coverings during work so that dust is not going into the atmosphere. Or we should use prefab materials, and we may use RMC in place of batch mix plant in case of congested areas. And then we can use environment friendly techniques like trenchless technology for cutting or for taking our utility services. Then we may use quality materials so that they are not likely to be rejected and taken out and taken in very many times. And we should use non-toxic materials. Then if we talk about the role of planning engineers, that is really very much required at during planning stage, and that is very important. They must select the materials properly in tender documents which are durable, non-combustible, non-toxic, and environment friendly. Even methods, whatever they are prescribing in tender conditions or contract conditions, including in BOQs, that should be environment friendly technologies, Design should be done properly, including of temporary structures like shuttering, scaffolding, etc. And then planning should be compatible to the contract provisions of machine materials and methods. If we talk about the worker safety, then it's important everywhere in every process, but particularly during excavation and trenching, fall from height, electrical safety, fire safety, hazardous material handling, confined space condition, tools during tools and plants handling, and temporary structures. This worker safety must be observed. If we see the reasons of worker safety not being given importance, that may be short-term economic considerations, and that is not wanted from the contractor or builder or developer or engineers. Non-availability of safe machinery and equipment, non-availability of PPEs, no guidelines or provisions on site for safety, health and welfare measures, poor knowledge of equipment, machine and safety provisions and their awareness, non-adoption of safety measures by workers deliberately, workers not abiding to safety rules, and safety culture is missing. This can be implemented through regulations, and we can include provisions in planning and designing through contract conditions. Training and awareness is essential, monitoring is essential, and supervision through engineers and safety officers, and rewards and penalties. If you talk about PPEs, then they may be different for different site, and they are site specific, but some of them like safety helmets, high visibility clothing or vests, safety shoes, dust masks, hand protection gloves, welding masks, ropes, safety belts and so on, they are important. Probably I think that we should include specifications for safety requirements in contract, as otherwise poor quality of safety gadgets are brought at site sometimes. So we may include specifications in contracts or through manual or through handbooks like of PPE, safety belts, scaffoldings, ladders and chairs, DNP, safety escape routes, emergency medical aids, etc. And if you talk about the contractor, then safety is still by reluctance by contractor in general. There are world-class contractors also who have safety norms in their culture. They have safety officers, they have good provisions, but in general that safety is large is by reluctance. Till it is not mandatory or incentivized, it may not be implemented. That is important. We can make it mandatory through contract, maybe through bill of quantities items or conditions where that is made mandatory, along with the specifications as we have discussed. And we should include the performance, particularly in implementing safety norms in enlistment criteria of contractors. And then we should also see public safety during construction, so that like we do not store construction material on public roads or public places, and fall of construction material due to no provision or barricading and curtains is prevented. There are warning signs, barricading and access control. There should not be any deep excavation in close vicinity of the existing structures. And then we should prevent air, water and noise pollution in habitat area. And then we should provide basic facilities to workers so that they do not misutilize public facilities or misuse them or do not encroach to them. Tender documents, I think, are important documents for making provisions for safety, and therefore items for safety norms should be prepared and included in BOQ, and they should be paid, like items of barricading, scaffolding net, safety net, toilet facilities, accommodation for workers, etc. can be included in tender documents and be paid. Small items like in the form like PPEs, etc. may be in the form of special conditions, but their specifications should also be mentioned, should be they should be specified. I think nothing comes free and everything is charged to works, so we may pay for it and ultimately it may be rewarding. So safety is very important in civil engineering structures, not only of the structure, but that safety of structure is required for the people working during construction, for the workers during construction, for the public who is passing or who is living near the construction site, and therefore engineers have larger responsibility, and safety should come through every design, every process, every material, every equipment, and every person. And then we need the safety culture in the construction sector, and we should plan for safety during pre-construction or planning stage and pay for it. We should make the provisions in the contract or tender documents, and then we should implement strictly with penalties so that safety is inculcated in civil engineering works. Thanks for attending. I am KM Soni, ADG retired from CPWD. Thanks a lot.